The entire restaurant went silent when Manager Chen slapped the tray out of my hands. The crystal glasses shattered across the marble floor of Hanok Palace, Manhattan's most exclusive Korean fine dining establishment, sending shards of glass skittering toward the feet of the most dangerous man in New York. And Manager Chen was screaming at me in front of everyone. "You incompetent girl. Do you know who that is? Do you know what you've done?" I knew exactly who he was. Everyone in New York's underworld knew the name Kang Jae-sung. The Korean mob boss who controlled everything from the garment district to the docks. The man whose gambling houses never got raided. Whose restaurants never failed inspections. Whose enemies simply disappeared. But what Manager Chen didn't know, what nobody knew, was that I recognized the elderly man sitting beside Kang Jae-sung even more clearly. The man I'd spent 3 years searching for. The man who'd murdered my mother. My name is Maya Park, and 30 seconds ago, I was just another invisible black waitress in a city full of people who didn't see me. But I was about to make a choice that would shatter that invisibility forever. I was about to speak. And the language I chose would rewrite everything. Before this story takes you any further, if you've ever been the only one in the room who looked like you, felt like you, or spoke a language nobody expected you to know, you're not alone here. This is a Korean Mafia romance storytelling channel for the invisible ones. The waitresses. The overlooked. The underestimated women who carry entire worlds inside them while the world sees nothing. If stories about black women speaking languages that don't belong to them, claiming power in rooms that weren't built for them, and rewriting the rules of who gets to be royalty make you feel seen, subscribing isn't just support. It tells the algorithm that voices like yours, stories like ours, deserve to exist. You belong here. Stay with us. 3 hours earlier, I'd tied my natural hair into the tight bun Manager Chen insisted on, put on the traditional hanbok-inspired uniform that never quite fit right, and prepared myself for another Friday night of being invisible. Maya. Chen's voice cut through the kitchen chaos. "You're on VIP room tonight. Private party. 20 guests. The Kang family." My blood went cold. "Sir, I usually work the main floor. Did I ask for your opinion?" Chen's eyes were hard behind his wire-rimmed glasses. He was second-generation Korean American, spoke English with barely an accent, but he looked at me like I was something he'd found on the bottom of his shoe. Sujin called in sick. "You're the only one available. Try not to embarrass me." The Kang family. I'd known this day might come. In 3 years of working in New York's Koreatown, I'd been careful to avoid the establishments they frequented. But Hanok Palace was supposed to be safe. It was a legitimate business. Fine dining. Michelin-starred. I should have known better. In this city, nothing was legitimate when you dug deep enough. The VIP room was on the 2nd floor, accessible only by a private elevator. Traditional Korean architecture, dark wood beams, paper screens, heated floors. A low table set for 20, cushions arranged with mathematical precision. I was setting out the banchan, small dishes of kimchi, pickled vegetables, seasoned spinach, when they arrived. The elevator doors opened, and power walked in. First came the security. For men in black suits, eyes scanning, hands near their jackets. Then the family members. Beautifully dressed women in designer hanbok, Men in custom suits that probably cost more than my annual rent. And then him. Kang Jae-sung. He was in his early 40s, tall for a Korean man, with the kind of presence that made everyone else seem like background actors. His suit was midnight blue, perfectly tailored. His hair was swept back, showing streaks of premature silver at the temples. His face was all sharp angles and controlled power. But it was his eyes that stopped my heart. Cold. Calculating. Missing nothing. He looked at me for exactly 3 seconds. Long enough to categorize me as staff, not threat. Then his gaze moved on. Behind him walked an older man, late 60s, leaning on an ornate walking stick. He wore traditional hanbok in deep charcoal, his white hair cropped short, his face a map of hard-won authority. And I recognized him. The hair was whiter. The face more lined. But the scar bisecting his left eyebrow was unmistakable. I'd seen it in my nightmares for 10 years. This was Kang Tae-won, the previous generation's boss. Jae-sung's father. The man who'd ordered the hit on my mother. My hands shook as I poured water. I kept my head down, my breathing controlled. 3 years of therapy had taught me how to manage panic. How to stay present. How to survive. Everyone be seated, Jae-sung commanded in Korean. His voice was smooth, authoritative. We have much to discuss tonight. I moved like a ghost, setting down dishes, refilling glasses. Manager Chen had stationed himself by the door, supervising with the intensity of a man who knew his life depended on perfection. The dinner began. Conversation flowed in Korean business talk, carefully coded. I understood every word, but I kept my face blank. Most people assumed I didn't speak Korean. Black girl, American name, working class job. The assumptions wrote themselves. That invisibility had kept me alive. Then everything went wrong. I was reaching across the table to replace an empty soju bottle when my sleeve caught on a decorative chopstick holder. It tipped, rolled, and knocked into Kang Tae-won's water glass. The glass didn't break. It just spilled water across the pristine white tablecloth, pooling near the old man's place setting. Time stopped. The entire room went silent. Tae-won looked down at the spreading water. Then slowly, deliberately, he raised his eyes to me. Careless, he said in English, his accent thick. Very careless. I'm so sorry, sir, I whispered, grabbing a napkin. Let me. Manager Chen appeared beside me like a ghost, his face white with terror. He grabbed my arm, yanking me back. I am deeply sorry, Kang Tae-won nim, Chen said in Korean, bowing so low his forehead nearly touched his knees. This girl is new. Stupid. I will fire her immediately. No, Tae-won interrupted, still looking at me. Let her clean it. Chen shoved me forward. I knelt, wiping the water with trembling hands. The entire table was watching me. I could feel 20 pairs of eyes, assessing, judging. And then Tae-won spoke again. You know what happens to careless people in my country? He asked in English, his tone conversational but deadly. They lose fingers. Start with the smallest one. Work your way up. Some of the men at the table chuckled. It wasn't a joke. My mother had been careless too. That's what they'd called it. A careless woman who'd seen something she shouldn't have. Who'd been in the wrong place at the wrong time. They'd made it look like a robbery. But I knew better. I said I'm sorry, I repeated, keeping my voice small, my eyes down. Sorry? Taewon leaned forward. You speak like you don't understand the weight of your mistake. This is not a diner in Brooklyn. This is not McDonald's. This is a table of men who built empires while girls like you. Father. Jae-sung's voice cut through the tension. It's just water. It's respect, Taewon snapped, switching to Korean. And this girl has none. Look at her. She doesn't even understand what we're saying. That's when something inside me snapped. 3 years of invisibility. 3 years of swallowing my rage. 3 years of serving people who looked through me like I was furniture. And this man who'd murdered my mother, was sitting here, threatening me, assuming I was too stupid to understand his own language. I stood up slowly. The napkin fell from my hands. And I looked Kang Taewon directly in the eye. I said. My Korean was perfect. Unaccented. The formal speech pattern of educated Seoul aristocracy. Respect is not given. It is earned. The room didn't just go silent. It went airless. Every single person at that table stopped moving. Stopped breathing. Chopsticks froze halfway to mouths. Glasses suspended in mid-air. Manager Chen's face went from white to gray. He looked like he might have a heart attack. But it was Kang Taewon's reaction that mattered. The old man's eyes went wide. Actually wide. Shock breaking through decades of controlled expressions. Because I hadn't just spoken Korean. I'd spoken Gyeonggi Dialect. The speech pattern of Seoul's old elite. The formal, classical form that hadn't been commonly used in South Korea since the 1980s. The language of the Yongbang class, the aristocracy. And more specifically, I'd used a proverb that came from a very particular place. The Gyeonggi district. Old Seoul. The neighborhood where the powerful families had consolidated control in the post-war years. Where the original Korean mob families had their roots. Taewon pushed his chair back, the legs scraping loudly against the floor. What did you say? His voice was barely a whisper. He'd switched to Korean as well, but now it was the formal, elaborate Korean of someone addressing an equal. I shouldn't have continued. Every instinct screamed at me to apologize, to run, to disappear. But 10 years of grief and rage had been building behind a dam, and the dam had just cracked. I said, keeping my tone respectful but firm. What I said is that if you behave rudely, that is not my problem. It is yours. Jae-sung stood up so fast his cushion toppled backward. Who are you? He demanded, his hand moving toward his jacket, where the gun was undoubtedly holstered. Manager Chen was making a sound like a dying animal. I don't know where she learned. I didn't know she could. Please, Kong Nim, I will fire her immediately. Quiet, Taewon commanded. His eyes never left my face. Your name. What is your family name? This was it. The moment of truth. I could lie. Give him my American name. Maintain the fiction. Or I could tell him exactly who I was and watch his world tilt. My Korean name, I said slowly, clearly, is Park Min-ji. Daughter of Park Hye-jin. I watched the name land like a bullet. Park Hygiene. Taewon's face went absolutely white. He gripped the edge of the table with both hands. Impossible, he whispered. Park Hygiene is dead. Has been dead for 10 years. And she had no daughter. The reports said. The reports were wrong. My voice was steady now. Cold. I was 14 when your men killed my mother in her apartment in Flushing. You made it look like a robbery. But she'd seen you that night. Seen you meeting with the Yakuza boss at the warehouse in Red Hook. She was working late, cleaning offices. Wrong place. Wrong time. The entire table was frozen. This wasn't happening. A waitress wasn't standing here, accusing Kang Taewon of a decade-old murder. But I was. She called me from the office, I continued, the memories flooding back with crystal clarity. Told me to hide. Told me if anything happened to her, there was a box under her bed. Documents. Photos. Everything I'd need to know about who you really were. You're lying, Jae-sung said, but his voice lacked conviction. He was looking at me differently now. Seeing me. If this were true, you would have gone to the police. I laughed. It was a bitter sound. The police? Half of them are on your payroll. I was a 14-year-old black girl with a Korean mother claiming a respected businessman murdered her. Who would have believed me? So what have you been doing for 10 years? Taewon asked. His shock was morphing into something more dangerous. Calculation. Waiting tables? Learning our language? Planning what? Revenge? Surviving, I said simply. My mother's aunt took me in. She lived in Atlanta. I learned Korean from my mother before she died, but I perfected it studying at night. I learned everything I could about your world. Your customs. Your speech patterns. Your weaknesses. I pulled at the collar of my uniform, revealing the edge of a tattoo on my collarbone. Korean characters in traditional calligraphy. Loyal daughter. I came back to New York 3 years ago, I said. Got a job in Koreatown. Worked my way through every Korean establishment in the city. Waited for the right moment. To do what? Jae-sung's gun was out now. Not pointed at me. Just resting against his thigh. A statement of capability. I looked directly at Taewon. To look you in the eye and tell you that I know exactly who you are. What you are. And that Park Hye-jin's daughter did not die with her. I survived. I remember. And you will never forget my face. The silence that followed was absolute. Then Taewon did something I didn't expect. He smiled. It was a terrible smile. Filled with respect and recognition. He said softly. Filial daughter. You waited 10 years. Learned our language perfectly. Infiltrated our world. All to tell an old man you remember his crime. He shook his head, almost admiringly. Park Hye-jin would be proud. Don't say her name, I hissed. Sit down, Taewon commanded, gesturing to an empty cushion. What? I said sit down. You came here to confront me? Fine. Let's talk. Properly. As equals. Father, this is insane, Jae-sung protested. She just admitted to infiltrating our organization. She admitted to being a loyal daughter, Taewon interrupted. And speaking better Korean than most of my men. He looked at me. Sit. Or my son will shoot you, and this interesting conversation will end. I sat. My legs were shaking, but I sat. Taewon poured soju into a glass and pushed it across the table to me. Your mother, he said, was in the wrong place at the wrong time. This is true. But did she tell you why she was in that office at midnight? Why she was cleaning a building that wasn't on her usual route? I said nothing. She was looking for something, Taewon continued. Documents. Financial records. She wasn't just a cleaning woman, Minji SSI. She was working for the FBI. Undercover. Gathering evidence. The world tilted. You're lying. I have the proof, Taewon said. Your mother was an informant. Codename Sparrow. She'd been feeding information to the feds for 3 months. The night she died, she'd found what they were looking for. Transfer records. Money laundering chains. Everything needed to bring down the Kong family. He took a sip of his own soju. We didn't kill her because she saw a meeting, Minji SSI. We killed her because she was going to destroy everything we'd built. And she knew the risks. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't possible. My mother was a cleaning woman. Hardworking. Honest. She wasn't. The box under her bed, Taewon said quietly. Did you find it? I had. Documents. Photos. But I'd thought they were evidence she'd collected for protection. To keep herself safe. Not evidence she'd been actively gathering for the FBI. Why are you telling me this? My voice cracked. Because you deserve to know who your mother really was, Taewon said. A brave woman. A dangerous woman. A woman who almost won. Jae-sung was watching this exchange with barely concealed rage. Father, we need to. The windows exploded inward. Glass shattered everywhere. People screamed. Bodies hit the floor. And through the smoke grenades that were suddenly filling the room, I heard English. FBI. Nobody move. Chaos. The VIP room erupted into violence. Jae-sung's security pulled weapons. The FBI agents poured through the shattered windows, through the door, bulletproof vests and assault rifles creating a wall of authority. Down. Everyone down. I hit the floor, covering my head. Glass was everywhere. Smoke burned my eyes. People were shouting in English and Korean, orders overlapping, creating a symphony of confusion. Through the smoke, I saw Jae-sung grab his father, hauling the old man toward a panel in the wall, a hidden exit. Of course there was a hidden exit. An FBI agent spotted them. Stop. Kong Jae-sung, you're under arrest. Jae-sung turned, his gun coming up. The agent's weapon rose in response. They were going to shoot each other. Right here. Right now. And in that split second, I made a calculation. I'd spent 10 years hating these men. 10 years planning this moment. But they hadn't killed my mother in cold blood. She'd been an informant. She'd known the risks. And if Jae-sung died here, I'd never get the answers I actually needed. I did the stupidest thing I've ever done. I stood up, stepped between them, and spoke in Korean. Wait. Both men froze. The FBI agent was screaming at me to get down. Jae-sung was staring at me like I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had. I turned to the FBI agent, switching to English. Don't shoot. He's surrendering. Like hell I am, Jae-sung snarled in Korean. I turned back to him, keeping my body between the gun and the agent. Think. You shoot a federal agent, you die here. Your father dies here. Your entire organization dies here. Or you surrender, lawyer up, and live to fight another day. Why do you care? Jae-sung demanded. Because my mother died for this, I said, my voice breaking. She died trying to bring you down legally. Not in a shootout. Not in chaos. She wanted justice. Not revenge. Tae-won, from behind his son, spoke quietly. Listen to her. Jae-sung's jaw clenched. The gun wavered. Your father is old, I continued, switching back to Korean. He can't survive prison. But he can survive house arrest. Cooperation. A deal. Your lawyer can make this happen. But not if you shoot a federal agent. The longest 5 seconds of my life passed. Then Jae-sung slowly lowered his weapon. I want my lawyer, he said in English. I'm not saying anything without my lawyer. The FBI agents swarmed them immediately. Handcuffs. Rights being read. The machinery of justice grinding into motion. An agent grabbed my arm. You. Come with me. She's a witness, another agent said. Possible informant. We need to separate her from. I know who she is, a new voice said. A woman pushed through the crowd. Late 40s, black, wearing a FBI windbreaker but radiating authority that had nothing to do with the badge. Special Agent Diana Torres. She'd been on the news. Head of the Organized Crime Task Force. She looked at me, and I saw recognition in her eyes. Park Min-ji, she said quietly. Your mother was Sparrow. And you've been walking around this city with a target on your back for 10 years without even knowing it. The FBI field office in Lower Manhattan was exactly what you'd expect. Gray walls. Fluorescent lights. The smell of bad coffee and bureaucratic exhaustion. They put me in an interview room. Not interrogation, they were careful to make that distinction. Interview. Like I had a choice. Agent Torres sat across from me, a thick file folder between us. Your mother, she began, was one of the best informants we ever had. Smart. Careful. Patient. She'd been working for us for almost a year when she died. I said nothing. I was still processing. Still trying to reconcile the mother I remembered, kind, hardworking, always tired, with this other woman. The spy. The hero. She knew the risks, Torres continued. We offered protection. Witness protection. New identities for both of you. She refused. Said she couldn't uproot you. Couldn't take you away from your friends, your school, your life. So she died instead, I said bitterly. So she tried to finish the job before they caught her, Torres corrected. The night she died, she'd finally gotten access to the main server. Downloaded everything. Financial records, transfer logs, names, dates. Everything we needed to bring down not just the Kong family, but 3 other major Korean organized crime groups. Torres opened the folder. Inside were photographs. My mother, alive, wearing a wire. My mother meeting with FBI agents. My mother looking determined and terrified in equal measure. She encrypted the files, Torres said. Sent them to a cloud server only she could access. We've been trying to crack that encryption for 10 years. Our best tech guys, NSA consultants, everyone. Nothing. She pushed a photograph across the table. It showed a piece of paper covered in Korean characters. Numbers. Symbols. We found this in her apartment after she died. We think it's the password. But we've tried every combination. Nothing works. I looked at the paper. The characters were in my mother's handwriting. But they weren't random. They were a poem. A traditional Korean poem about loyalty and sacrifice. It's not a password, I said quietly. It's a key. Torres leaned forward. What do you mean? My mother used to recite poetry to me every night. Korean folk poems. She said they were important. That I should memorize them. I thought she just wanted me to connect with our heritage. I pointed to the characters. This is the first line of a poem. But the password isn't the line itself. It's what the line represents. The number of syllables in the traditional meter. The position of the stressed characters. The classical romanization pattern. Torres was staring at me. Can you crack it? Maybe. If I can access the system and have time. We'll give you everything you need, Torres interrupted. If you can unlock those files, we can finish what your mother started. We can bring down an entire network. Why should I help you? I asked. You let my mother die. You used her and then abandoned her. We didn't abandon her, Torres said, and there was real pain in her voice. We had a team ready to extract her that night. She called it off. Said she needed 1 more hour. 1 more download. She chose the mission over her safety. She pulled out another photograph. This one showed my mother smiling, holding a younger me, both of us laughing at something off camera. She did it for you, Torres said. She wanted to break the cycle. Wanted you to grow up in a city where men like the Kangs didn't have power. Where justice meant something. I looked at my mother's face. Young. Happy. Brave. I'll help you, I said. But I have conditions. They didn't arrest Kong Tae-won. This was the first thing that made me suspicious. Jae-sung was in custody, sure. But within 6 hours, his team of lawyers had him out on bail. $5 million, like that was pocket change. And Tae-won? He'd been detained for questioning and then released to house arrest at the Kong family compound in Westchester. Torres explained it as strategic. We need him to feel safe. To make mistakes. To contact his associates. If we lock him up, everyone goes dark. This way, we monitor everything. But something felt wrong. The compound was a fortress. 20 acres behind walls and gates, guards and cameras. The main house was modern Korean architecture, all clean lines and natural materials, built to look serene while hiding the violence underneath. They'd set me up in a guest house on the property. For your protection, Torres said. Until we crack the encryption and secure the network. But the FBI agents who'd been protecting me left after the first night. And the Kong family security took over. I was a prisoner in everything but name. The first morning, I woke to find Jae-sung sitting in a chair across from my bed. I grabbed the lamp from the nightstand, ready to use it as a weapon. He didn't move. Just watched me with those cold, calculating eyes. You can put that down, he said in Korean. If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. Comforting, I replied in English, but I set the lamp down. Why did you stop me from shooting that agent? Jae-sung asked. You hate us. You said it yourself. 10 years of planning. And then you save me? I sat up, pulling the blanket around myself. I saved myself. If you'd shot him, every agent in that room would have opened fire. I was in the crossfire. Liar. He leaned forward. You stepped between us. Deliberately. That's not self-preservation. That's sacrifice. Maybe I just wanted to see you rot in prison instead of dying quickly. Jae-sung smiled. It was a terrible smile. You know what I think? I think you found out your mother was an informant and it broke something inside you. You spent 10 years hating us for being monsters. Then you learned she was playing the same game. And now you don't know who the monsters are anymore. He wasn't wrong. I hated that he wasn't wrong. The FBI wants me to crack her encryption, I said, changing the subject. They think I can access her files. Can you? Maybe. Will you? That was the real question, wasn't it? I looked at Jae-sung. Really looked at him. He was younger than I'd thought. Maybe 35. Handsome in a sharp, dangerous way. But his eyes were old. Tired. Your father said my mother almost won, I said. That she almost destroyed your family. If I crack her encryption, I finish what she started. Everything she died for. Every sacrifice. It all means something. Or, Jae-sung said quietly, you learn that the world she was fighting for isn't any better than the world we built. That the FBI uses people just like we do. That justice is just another word for control. You're trying to manipulate me. I'm trying to make you think. He stood up. Breakfast is in an hour. My father wants to speak with you. Alone. I'd suggest you attend. He doesn't like being refused. He walked to the door, then paused. Park Min-ji, he said, using my Korean name. Your mother was brilliant. Brave. And she made a choice that got her killed. You're about to make a choice too. I hope you choose better. He left me sitting there, surrounded by luxury and lies, trying to figure out which monsters I was supposed to fight. If you're still here, it means this story has touched something real in you. Most people don't make it this far unless they're emotionally invested. Unless they see themselves in Maya, a woman caught between two worlds, two languages, two versions of who she's supposed to be. This Korean Mafia romance storytelling channel exists for listeners like you. The ones who don't skip when things get complicated. Who understand that love and loyalty and revenge aren't simple. who know what it feels like to carry a secret language in your heart that nobody expects you to speak. Subscribing is how you stay connected to stories that understand this side of romance. The messy side. The dangerous side. The side where choosing yourself means risking everything. Stay with us. Kong Tae-won's private study was a shrine to old Korea. Traditional furniture. Scrolls on the walls showing classical calligraphy. The smell of green tea and aged paper. He sat behind a low desk, wearing simple hanbok, looking like a scholar instead of a crime lord. Sit, he gestured to the cushion across from him. I sat, keeping my back straight, my hands folded. The posture of respect my mother had taught me. You speak our language like a native, Tae-won observed, pouring tea. The old dialect. The formal patterns. Where did you truly learn this? My mother taught me the basics. I perfected it studying linguistics at NYU. I have a degree in Korean language and culture. His eyebrows rose. A waitress with a university degree? A woman with a degree working as a waitress because Park Min-ji doesn't get called for interviews. But Maya Park? She's exotic enough to be interesting, unthreatening enough to be ignored. Tae-won nodded slowly. Racism is effective camouflage. It's survival. He pushed the tea toward me. Your mother understood survival. She survived the IMF crisis in Korea. Survived immigration. Survived raising a daughter alone in a foreign country. But she didn't survive ambition. She didn't survive you, I corrected. True. He didn't deny it. Didn't justify it. Just acknowledged it as fact. But I want you to understand something, Min-ji SSI. Your mother wasn't a victim. She was a player. She made choices knowing the consequences. She was trying to protect me. She was trying to be a hero. Tae-won sipped his tea. There's a difference. Protection would have been disappearing. Changing names. Living quietly. But she wanted to destroy us. To be remembered. To matter. His words were poison, designed to twist my understanding of everything. But they were also true. I'd found my mother's journals in that box under her bed. Read her thoughts. Her plans. She hadn't just been gathering evidence. She'd been building a legacy. Why am I here? I asked. Really? The FBI didn't put me in your compound for my protection. They put me here as bait. Tae-won smiled. Very good. Yes. They think I'll either kill you or try to turn you. Either way, it gives them leverage. If I kill you, I break my house arrest conditions and they can fully prosecute. If I turn you, they have an asset inside my organization. And you're telling me this because I have a third option they didn't consider. Tae-won set down his teacup. I want to hire you. I stared at him. Excuse me? Your skills are wasted as a waitress. Or as an FBI pawn. You speak perfect Korean. You understand our culture. You have your mother's intelligence and your own unique perspective. I need someone who can move between worlds. Someone the authorities see as powerless. Someone who can negotiate with our enemies without drawing attention. You want me to work for the man who killed my mother? I want you to work for yourself, Taewon corrected. Your mother left you nothing but rage and debt. I can give you power, money, protection. A place in a world that would otherwise grind you into dust. In exchange for what? Loyalty, discretion, and your mother's encryption key. There it was. The real ask. The FBI. The FBI will use you until you're no longer useful, then discard you. I, at least, am honest about what I am. He leaned forward. Your mother's files contain information about all of us. The Kangs, yes. But also the triads. The Yakuza. The Russians. Everyone in the network. If that information becomes public, it doesn't just destroy us. It creates a power vacuum. War. Blood in the streets. Good, I said. You all deserve it. And how many innocent people die in that war? Taewon asked. How many shop owners caught in crossfire? How many children orphaned like you were? You think you're choosing justice. But you're choosing chaos. I stood up. I'm not choosing anything. I'm going back to my room. Sit down, Taewon commanded. His voice didn't rise, but the authority in it was absolute. I sat, hating myself for it. My son thinks you're dangerous, Taewon said. He wants you removed. Permanently. I'm the only thing keeping you alive right now, Minji SSI. So before you make moral pronouncements, understand that your choices are limited. You're threatening me. I'm being clear with you. A luxury your mother never had. He poured more tea. You have 3 days to decide. Work with me, work with the FBI, or refuse both and see what happens. Choose wisely. He dismissed me with a wave. I left the study shaking. Not from fear. From rage. Because he was right. I was trapped between two monsters, both claiming to offer salvation, both ready to devour me the moment I became inconvenient. I needed a third option. And I had no idea where to find it. I found Jae-sung in the compound's gym, destroying a heavy bag with methodical precision. He didn't stop when I entered. Just kept hitting. Each punch perfectly controlled, channeling violence into technique. Your father made his offer, I said. I know. Punch. Punch. I was listening. Of course he was. He thinks he can turn me. Use me against the FBI. Can he? Jae-sung stopped, finally looking at me. Sweat plastered his shirt to his chest, highlighting every muscle. I forced myself to focus on his face. That depends. On what? On whether you're actually going to kill me. Jae-sung grabbed a towel, wiping his face. If I were going to kill you, you'd already be dead. I had 6 opportunities yesterday alone. Comforting. It should be. It means I haven't decided yet if you're valuable or dangerous. He walked toward me. Close enough that I had to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. My father sees you as a tool. The FBI sees you as bait. What do you see yourself as? A woman trying not to die. Liar. He was studying my face with unnerving intensity. You don't have survival instincts. You have martyr instincts. Just like your mother. You stepped between me and that FBI agent because part of you wants to die for something meaningful. You don't know anything about me. I know you spent 10 years planning revenge and then abandoned it the moment you learned the truth about your mother. I know you speak Korean better than most native speakers, but you hide it. I know you have a tattoo that says loyal daughter, but you're not sure what you're loyal to anymore. He was too close. Too perceptive. Why do you care? I demanded. Because you're a variable I can't calculate, Jae-sung admitted. And I don't like variables. So eliminate me. Problem solved. Except you're also the only person in this compound who isn't afraid of me. Who speaks to me like I'm human instead of a title. He reached out, his finger hooking under my chin, tilting my face up. That makes you either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Can't it be both? His lips twitched. Almost a smile. Probably. We stood there, tension crackling between us. This was insane. He was the son of my mother's murderer. The next generation of everything I was supposed to hate. But he was also the first person in years who'd looked at me and seen me. Not the waitress. Not the victim. Not the pawn. Me. The FBI wants me to crack the encryption tomorrow, I said. They're sending equipment here. Under the guise of letting me work from home while under house arrest. Will you do it? I don't know. If I do, your father's organization falls. Everyone connected to it. Including you. And if you don't? The FBI loses leverage. Your father wins. Nothing changes. Jae-sung's hand dropped from my chin. There's a third option. Which is? Crack the encryption. But don't give anyone the files. Keep them. Use them yourself. His eyes held mine. Information is power, Min-ji. Your mother understood that. If you have those files, you have leverage over everyone. FBI. My father. The other families. You go from pawn to player. That's insane. That's survival. He stepped back. My father sees you as a tool. I see you as a threat. But maybe you should see yourself as something else entirely. What? A queen, Jae-sung said quietly. On a board full of monsters pretending to be men. He left me standing there, heart racing, mind spinning. A queen. The idea was absurd. Dangerous. Impossible. But it was also the first option that didn't end with me dead or destroyed. And maybe that was enough. The FBI brought the equipment the next day. Laptops. Servers. Encryption software. They set it up in a secure room in the main house, agents standing guard. But within an hour, Jae-sung had dismissed them. Security concern. My men will watch her. She's not going anywhere. Torres protested, but Jae-sung's lawyers backed him up. House arrest conditions allowed him control of his own property. The FBI agents had to leave. Which meant I was alone with Kong's security. And Jae-sung. I need access to my mother's old email accounts, I told them. And her phone records from the week she died. Jae-sung made it happen. Within an hour, I had everything spread across multiple screens. My mother had been brilliant. The encryption was layered. multiple passwords, biometric markers, time-delayed access codes. But she'd left breadcrumbs. Hidden in emails to me. Coded in birthday messages. Embedded in photographs. It took me 6 hours. But I cracked it. The files opened like a flower blooming. Spreadsheets. Documents. Photographs. 10 years of evidence, perfectly preserved. And it was worse than anyone thought. The Kong family was just one piece. The network spread across 5 countries. Judges. Politicians. Police captains. Business leaders. Everyone who'd been touched by organized crime money, documented with precision. This wasn't just evidence of crimes. This was a map of corruption so deep, so widespread, that releasing it would burn down half of New York's power structure. Did you get it? Jae-sung asked, entering the room. I should have lied. Should have protected the information. Instead, I turned the screen toward him. Look, I said. He looked. I watched his face as he processed what he was seeing. The names. The numbers. The scope. This is. He trailed off. Everything, I finished. This is everything. Jae-sung pulled out his phone. Made a call. Spoke rapidly in Korean. Within minutes, his father entered the room. Taewon looked at the screen. Then at me. Then back at the screen. Your mother, he said slowly, was more dangerous than I realized. She was a hero, I corrected. She was both. Taewon pulled up a chair. Show me everything. I should have refused. Should have called Torres. Should have done the right thing. But I wanted to see their faces. Wanted them to understand what my mother had accomplished. What she died for. So I showed them. Every file. Every name. Every crime. And as I did, I watched something change in Taewon's expression. Fear. Respect. Recognition. Half these people, he said finally, will kill to keep this secret. The other half will kill to obtain it. You realize what you're holding? Power, I said. A death sentence, Taewon corrected. The FBI can't protect you from this. Once they have these files, they'll use them. And everyone named here will come for you. You'll never be safe again. I'm already not safe. You're invisible, Jae-sung said. That's different. But the moment you release this, you become the most visible target in the city. He wasn't wrong. So what do you suggest? I asked. Taewon and Jae-sung exchanged a look. Some silent communication passed between them. We protect you, Taewon said. You give us copies of the files. We use them to negotiate. To consolidate power. To eliminate threats. And you become untouchable. In exchange for what? Your loyalty, Taewon said simply. True loyalty. Not coerced. Not purchased. Chosen. I looked at these two men. Father and son. Killers and kings. And I made my choice. No, I said. Both men went very still. No? Taewon repeated. I'm not giving you the files. I'm not giving them to the FBI. I'm keeping them. I stood up, facing them both. And I'm going to use them myself. Jae-sung's hand moved toward his gun. Don't, I warned. The files are encrypted again. New password. If I die, if I'm harmed, if I disappear, they automatically upload to every news organization in the country. WikiLeaks. The Guardian. The New York Times. Everyone. It was a bluff. I hadn't set that up yet. But they didn't know that. You're making a mistake, Taewon said quietly. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. I looked at Jae-sung. You said I should see myself as a queen. Fine. Queens don't serve. They rule. You can't rule alone, Jae-sung said. I don't plan to. I pulled up a new file on the screen. I've been analyzing these documents. The network has fractures. Weak points. People who are one scandal away from falling. I can exploit those fractures. Break apart the network. Create space for something new. Chaos, Taewon said. Change, I corrected. My mother died trying to destroy this network from outside. I'm going to destroy it from inside. Using us, Jae-sung realized. Using everyone. The FBI thinks I'm their informant. Your father thinks I'm his new tool. The other families don't even know I exist yet. I smiled. I'm going to play all of you against each other until the old system breaks. And then I'm going to build something better. You'll never survive it, Taewon warned. I survived 10 years of grief and rage. I'll survive this. Silence fell. Taewon and Jae-sung looked at each other again. Then Taewon started laughing. A real laugh, full and genuine. She has her mother's fire, he said. And her father's steel. I went very still. What did you say? Taewon's smile was knowing. You think I didn't investigate your mother thoroughly? Park Hye-jin wasn't just a cleaning woman turned informant. She was the daughter of Park Dae-young, former gang leader in Seoul. He fled to America in the 90s after a war with the Kims. Changed his name. Disappeared. My father. I'd never known my father. My mother said he died before I was born. Your father, Taewon continued, was legendary. Brilliant. Ruthless. He taught your mother everything. And she taught you. You're not just a loyal daughter, Min-ji. You're royalty. Underground royalty. The world tilted. You're lying. I have the documents. Birth records. Marriage certificates. Everything your mother hid from you. Taewon's expression softened slightly. She wanted you to have a normal life. To escape the cycle. But blood doesn't lie. You were always going to end up here. In this world. It's in your DNA. I sat down heavily. This changed everything. If what he was saying was true, then I wasn't just a victim seeking justice. I was legacy. Claiming my birthright. Show me, I demanded. Show me the proof. Taewon nodded to Jae-sung, who pulled out his phone and pulled up files. Documents in Korean. Photographs of a man who looked like me. Same eyes. Same cheekbones. Park Dae-young. My father. The gangster my mother had fled. Or had she? She wasn't running from him, I realized. She was protecting me from his enemies. Yes, Taewon confirmed. And when she took the FBI job, it wasn't just about justice. It was about eliminating the people who'd killed your father. The Kims. The triads who'd betrayed him. She was finishing his war. I looked at the files on the screen with new eyes. My mother hadn't just collected random evidence. She'd been targeting specific people. Everyone connected to my father's death. The FBI didn't know, I said. No. They thought they were using her. But she was using them. Taewon's respect was evident. Your mother was playing a long game. And she almost won. Until you killed her. Until she forced my hand, Taewon corrected. She knew what would happen. She'd made peace with it. Her only regret was leaving you. Tears burned my eyes. I refused to let them fall. So what now? I asked. You've told me I'm the daughter of a gangster. That my mother was playing everyone. That I'm royalty. What does that change? Everything, Jae-sung said. He'd been quiet, watching, assessing. If the other families know who you are, they can't touch you. You're protected by the old codes. Blood debt. Your father's name still carries weight. And if they don't know? Then you're just an informant who'll be dead within a week, Taewon said bluntly. Choose, Min-ji. Claim your heritage. Or die as Maya Park, Waitress. It wasn't a choice. Not really. I'd spent 10 years being invisible. Being safe. Being nobody. It was time to be someone. I need guarantees, I said. Protection. Resources. Access to your network. In exchange for? Taewon asked. Partnership. I give you access to select files. Information you can use to eliminate threats. In return, you give me legitimacy. Introduction to the other families. Recognition. And the FBI? Jae-sung asked. I'll feed them enough to keep them happy. But not enough to actually destroy anyone important. I looked at both of them. I'm not choosing sides. I'm choosing myself. Anyone who can accept that can work with me. Anyone who can't. I let the threat hang in the air. Taewon considered. Then he extended his hand. Partnership. For now. I shook it. His grip was firm. Certain. Jae-sung didn't offer his hand. He just looked at me with those cold, calculating eyes. You're dangerous, he said. Not an insult. An observation. So are you, I replied. He smiled. Finally. A real smile that transformed his face from cold to devastatingly handsome. This is going to be interesting, he said. And in that moment, I knew he was right. This is usually the moment when casual listeners leave. The moment when the story gets complicated. When the waitress stops being a victim and starts being dangerous. When you realize this isn't just romance, it's war. But you stayed. That tells me you're not here for noise. You're not here for simple. You're here for the messy truth about power and language and women who refuse to stay invisible. You're here for Korean Mafia romance that costs something. That asks something. That changes something. If that's you, if you're the kind of person who understands that claiming your heritage means claiming your throne, even when the throne is built on complicated ground, then this channel was made for you. Subscribe. Not because you're asked. Because you belong here. In this world where black women speak perfect Korean and rewrite the rules and become queens despite everything designed to keep them small. You stayed this long. You're already one of us. 3 months later, I walked into Hanok Palace for the first time since the raid. But I wasn't wearing a uniform. I was wearing a custom black dress. My natural hair was styled in elegant curls. I had diamonds at my throat, a gift from Taiwan, purchased with money that was probably stolen, but beautiful nonetheless. And I walked in as an owner. Partner. I'd used my mother's files to pressure the previous owners into selling. Used Kong money to purchase controlling interest. The restaurant was packed. Every table full. And at the VIP table sat the heads of the 5 families. Korean. Chinese. Japanese. Russian. Italian. All of them there to meet me. Park Min-ji. Daughter of Park Dae-young. The new player. Taewon stood when I entered. An honor he rarely gave anyone. Jae-sung pulled out my chair. His hand brushed my back as I sat, a touch that could mean nothing or everything. Gentlemen, I said in perfect Korean, thank you for coming. I looked around the table at the faces of men who'd spent decades building empires on blood and violence. Men who now had to reckon with me. My mother died in this city trying to bring justice. My father died fighting a war he couldn't win. I'm not interested in dying for either. I poured myself wine, calm and controlled. I'm interested in winning. And I'm offering each of you the same choice, work with me, or watch your empires fall. The silence that followed was absolute. Then the Italian boss, a man named Greco who'd survived 40 years in the game, started laughing. She has balls, he said. I like her. One by one, the others nodded. Respect earned through audacity. I'd done it. The waitress who'd been invisible had become undeniable. But as I sat there, surrounded by monsters, I caught Jae-sung watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Later, after the meeting, after the handshakes and promises, he cornered me in the hallway. You know this won't last, he said quietly. Eventually, they'll try to eliminate you. All of them. I know. And you're prepared for that? I've been preparing my whole life. I looked up at him. The question is, when they come for me, which side will you be on? Jae-sung's hand came up, cupping my face with surprising gentleness. That depends. On what? On whether you're playing me like you're playing everyone else. I should have lied. Should have kept him uncertain. Kept my cards close. Instead, I told the truth. I don't know yet. His thumb traced my cheekbone. Fair enough. He kissed me then. Not gentle. Not sweet. A claiming kiss. A challenge. And I kissed him back, knowing it was dangerous, knowing it was stupid, knowing that falling for the son of my mother's killer was possibly the worst choice I could make. But I'd spent 10 years making the safe choice. It was time to be dangerous. When we broke apart, I stepped back, adjusting my dress. This changes nothing. Everything, Jae-sung corrected. This changes everything. I walked away, feeling his eyes on me, knowing he was right. The room had gone silent when the black waitress spoke fluent Korean to the mafia boss's father. But the city was about to see what happened when that waitress became a queen. And the real story? The one about revenge and justice and the thin line between hero and villain? That story was just beginning. If this story kept you company tonight, if it made you feel seen as a woman who's ever had to code switch, hide your intelligence, or speak a language people didn't think belonged to you, if it softened something, healed something, or reminded you that invisibility is a choice, not a sentence, don't leave without marking your place. Subscribing helps these Korean mafia romance stories, stories about women who refuse to stay small, who speak languages of power, who claim thrones in rooms that weren't built for them, reach others who need them just as much as you did tonight. The waitress who corrected a mafia boss in his own language and lived to become a queen? That's not just Maya's story. That's the story of every woman who's ever been underestimated and decided to become undeniable instead. Thank you for listening to the end. For staying when it got complicated. For understanding that the best love stories aren't about being saved, they're about saving yourself and then choosing who deserves to stand beside you. That alone says everything about who you are. Welcome to the Empire.